Right, but you're always
go to the right.
Alpha, you need to stop thinking. You're gonna put an eye out.
Inside the wheels.
Oh.
There's a different taste of refreshment, you know? I know it.
Forward, march.
Tom looks almost as hot as ours.
Come on, Tom.
You got short sleeves on. What's the matter with you?
Straighten out.
Oh, don't push it forward anymore.
You gotta come around the rest of the way. Here we go.
Hop out.
Gunner in 5 inside. Gunner in 5, trail.
Andy, grab this. I gotta go in there with him. Okay. I'm going in there with him.
Someone hop on a house.
Are you number 5?
I'm going in there with him, Steve.
All right, he's coming in. Turn that wheel.
Turn your wheel. Turn your wheel. Turn your wheel.
Reverse the other one. Turn that one. That's all set. Where's the tie string on that thing?
You guys ready?
Good. On the helm.
We're going right where those people are. Get them out of the way. Okay.
I'll move, man.
Thanks.
They're watching the pose too. Steve, I think you could come up here with me.
Make sure you stay out.
It's nice to be watching.
Yeah, especially when you
You don't mind if he comes up there, do you, Jeff? Should be up here, I believe. All right. Oh, that's right.
March.
No. Sorry, John. It's all right. You're not. I want to know what you're not. I've got my own
actually,
position.
why don't you fill up my can? Just about halfway.
Coming up on the rock. Pushy, there's holes.
Is there a schedule for when they fire off? Or?
Well, today is 10 and 12.
10 and 12? Okay.
Here, cavalry at 11 and 12.
Okay, cool. All right.
They're over
over at by the Longstreet Monument?
Yeah, we got our blankets when I go home and get my camera.
Oh, good. Yeah, you got plenty of time.
Yeah, okay, great, thank you.
That's what they do with the musket, right? Guys, they're firing the cannon! They're going to use the blank, so they're not going to actually use the powder, but they're not going to actually put a ball in the powder. It's going to be loud. James. It's going to be loud? I mean, it could break the fence. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
Before we begin here, I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you all to Gettysburg and welcome you out here to the Pennsylvania Memorial for our Living History Weekend with Battery B, 1st Rhode Island Light Artillery. These men you're going to meet in just a few minutes at Battery B, 1st Rhode Island, are a very important part of our Living History program here at Gettysburg. 28 weekends. We start Living History on April 1st. We end November 1st. And during those weekends, we invite some of the finest groups in the nation onto the battlefield to present Life of the Civil War Soldier programs to you folks. The key word's invite. Gettysburg, like many parks around the country, we don't have the budget or staff to present these programs by ourselves. So we rely for Living History on volunteers. On those 28 weekends, nearly 1,800 individuals volunteer their time. Wow. They travel long distance, spend their own money to be here, and if it weren't for folks just like Battery B, 1st Rhode Island Light Artillery, and those other 1,800 individuals, we couldn't offer 28 weekends of living history. There'd be no April 1st and November 1st. There would be no Life of the Civil War Soldier programs held on this battlefield for you folks to attend and enjoy. So maybe we can just take a moment of our time and show our appreciation to Battery B, 1st Rhode Island Light Artillery, for giving up their weekend, and they did that for you folks. Now what they're going to do is talk and demonstrate a little bit about the role and function of the artillery. You're going to be introduced to the gun out in the field. You're going to be introduced to some of the men that made up a gun detachment, the cannoneers, and what was fired out of these guns. During the course of this very complete program on the artillery, they're also going to demonstrate the proper way they loaded and fired their 6-pounder out in the field. But Park Service regulations are quite clear. Although we'll fire the weapons on the battlefield, we just don't live fire the weapons. So when the lanyard is pulled and the smoke comes out, there's not going to be a cannonball echoing downrange, ricocheting off the rocks or trees, or exploding over the Kadori farm. But they are going to blank fire about 8 to 10 ounces of black powder in a blank round. It's going to be loud, so we're going to ask you folks to do a couple things. First of all, if you have a hearing aid, you might want to turn that way, way down or completely off. Then we're going to have you protect your hearing. And how we're going to do that is for you to plug up your ears, open your mouth slightly to relieve the inner ear and outer ear pressure of the concussion of the weapon going off, and believe it or not, you go home with all your hearing. Finally, one more thing for your own safety. Black powder, it is a Class A explosive. It's highly dangerous, it's very volatile, it's very unpredictable stuff. The men of Battery B, 1st Rhode Island Light Artillery, are trained and experienced in using that black powder safely. But here in the Park Service, we're looking out for your safety. That's paramount with us. So we want to keep you folks separated from any potential problems that do exist when you handle and fire a Class A explosive. Do not anticipate having any problems with that black powder with Battery B, 1st Rhode Island, one of the safest groups in the nation with that powder. But you never know, problems can occur even with the safest groups. So if there's a problem with it today, you are safe and separated from that problem, and we do that by the means of this very expensive barricade that you see before you. Now you can gather up, get nice and close, you'll be able to hear and see better that way, come right up to the barricade, but just do not go beyond it during the course of the program. When the battery commander, who I'm going to introduce you to in just a moment, deems that everything is safe, stored, and put away, he might just allow you to lift that barricade, come down to the gun, get a closer look, ask the cannoneer some questions, but only on his say-so are you to proceed farther than that very sturdy barricade. Thank you, folks, for coming in and supporting our living history. When you do, not only do you support the finest groups in the nation, but you are allowing these groups to come back through your support. And for over 20 years, I've worked with Battery B, 1st Rhode Island, and every weekend that I've spent with them over those years, they've always made my job extremely stress-free and very low-key. So to introduce you to the role and function of the artillery, I'd like to introduce you to a gentleman who's been coming here all those years with Battery B, very knowledgeable about the role and function of the artillery, to share some of that knowledge with you. The battery commander. I'd like you all to meet Mr. Phil DeMaria. Phil?
Folks, first off, I'd like to thank Gettysburg Military Battlefield, as well as Tom Holbrook, for allowing us to come out here and put these programs on for you. Now, we're going to fire one round for you, and then I'll describe each man's position, give you a little bit of background on the projectiles that the guns would fire, and some background on the 1st Rhode Island Light Artillery. So with that, First Sergeant.
Sir.
Load.
Gunner, load. Cannoneers, load. Bring up the round, solid shot, 1,000 yards.
Now, folks, a good gun crew could get off as many as 3 rounds in a minute. By today's safety standards, we're only allowed to fire 1 round every 3 minutes, and National Park rules state 1 round every 10 minutes.
Tubes loaded. Ram it, charge. Charge, ram. Setting the piece.
The vehicle you see to the rear of the gun is a limber. There would have been 6 horses attached to that, and the limber is the heart of the artillery system. It was their form of a tractor.
Charge prime.
Now, folks, the gun is ready to fire. At this point, you might want to block your ears.
Gun is up and ready, sir. First Sergeant, gun is up and ready.
Sergeant, on my command.
On the captain's command.
Now, folks, we're going to dedicate this first firing to those 4 Marine artillerists who lost their lives several days ago. Fire!